It's a tremendous honor for me to introduce our first speaker to report to you on behalf of the CHS Board of Directors. Dan Schurr has a distinguished record of service to agriculture, cooperatives, and rural America. Dan joined the CHS Board of Directors in 2006 and was elected to serve as our board chairman in 2017. Please welcome Dan Schurr.
Good morning. Welcome to the 2019 CHS Annual Meeting. We're certainly glad you're here. So driven by our purpose is creating connections to empower agriculture. I think being part of this cooperative system maybe has never been so valuable as it has been this year. This team, they performed, they buckled down, they tightened their belts and performed. $829 million of earnings. $180 million of cash back to you, our owners. Now later in the morning, you're going to hear more about the financials from the team, and then you'll also hear from Jay Debretine, our CEO, and he'll give you a little more color into 2019, and then a look into 2020. Today, I bring you the report from the Board of Directors. So when I think about the annual meeting theme, it's with purpose. And when I think about that, it reminds me of my early years growing up on the farm. And I'm sure maybe some of you will share similar stories and thoughts of growing up with your parents. And I think about my earliest memories is when I was a young kid and I was shoveling corn with my dad and we were grinding feed. And I was just a little tyke, so I certainly wasn't very productive. But my dad, he was giving me purpose. He was investing in the future of agriculture. He was investing in me and gave me that ability, that insight at a very early age to see into the operation. And I quickly learned that it was extremely important. It wasn't just a job. He was supporting his family. He was feeding his family. This was important. Details mattered. Now I can give you a story of details. I remember my job early on when I would help him would be to shovel this feed and put it in these bushel baskets. And then my dad, he would pick these bushel baskets up and he'd throw them on his shoulder and he'd carry them out to feed the cattle. And he would tell me, now make sure you fill them full, but then pack it really tight around the edges. And I forgot that once, and he picked it up and he threw it on his shoulder and the feed went all over the side, right down into his shirt. And I quickly learned details matter. It only took me once to learn it. But he also realized that he couldn't do this himself, that he needed help to make this successful. And for us, he looked to that local co-op. And that local co-op, our local co-op, provided almost everything that we needed, supplies and the expertise. And that co-op, they were there, even in the most trying of times, difficult times, they were there helping my dad support his family. Well, there's no doubt, we're in tough times today. This has been a challenging year. Weather, delayed plantings, the issues with the general ag economy, and then you layer on top of that, trade wars. Just a lot of levers being pulled on us all at once. But it's times like these that drive change, that fuel new solutions, that we look for new opportunities and better ways to do things. It kind of also reminds us of who we are. Farmers, co-ops, we're tough. We're resilient. So we're going to forge ahead. We're going to move ahead, and we're going to make a future for ourselves. And we're going to do that by creating connections that empower agriculture. That is our new purpose statement. That is what we are going to do. And then how we're going to do that, that is our values. So our first value that we have is integrity. We set very high standards for ourselves, and we hold ourselves accountable. So I like the way that Jay puts this. He says that we're going to do the right thing, no matter if nobody's looking, and no one will find out. Pretty well summarizes it. Safety. We are going to operate safely. we put on our highest priority is our people, our customers, and our communities. We want every night for every one of our employees to go home with their families. Those families, they live in the communities where we operate, and those communities, they expect us to operate those safely. And we expect to operate in those facilities safely too. And then we're going to have this idea of inclusion. We think this is vital. This is vital to our success, to get the broadest set of ideas and thoughts, bring them together to make great decisions for the future of our company, and so we can show excellence. And we will seek that out. And then we're going to wrap this all in a veil of cooperative spirit. Cooperatives, that's who we are. That's what we are. And we're very proud of that. It is our competitive advantage. Now, the team over here, this team's going to fight every day to make sure that CHS is your number one choice. And I have no doubt that they will do that. But on top of that, you're going to be a patron. You're going to share in our success through patronage. On top of that, you're going to be an owner. Come to these very meetings just like this and help guide us into the future. We're all long-term thinkers. That's what we are in agriculture. And we're trying to create a future for this company that's for you, but also for your children and for your grandchildren. So that is important to us. And then we're going to invest back into those communities through our people, through our patronage, through our facilities, and through our giving. Those places that you and I live. Well, it's a great story. And it's a great story that we have as a cooperative system. So how are we going to create these connections? How are we going to do that? Well, we believe that the number one place to start is to listen. We're going to listen to you, understand your needs, what products, what services that you need, what are you going to need from our local agronomist? What are you going to need from our energy specialist? Your board's been listening. They take this very seriously. They've been working very hard at listening. But we believe so strongly in this, we're going to even lean in harder on this. So we started this year's listening at our annual meeting right here this week at the New Leader Forum. So the board sat down with the new leaders on Wednesday, and we talked to them about what is the future like for you? What is the co-op that you're going to need? How can our co-op help you be successful? And so we got some good feedback there. And then yesterday in the Connection Center across the hall, we listened to all of you, talked to all of you about how can we help you grow? What are the things that we can do to be more successful together? And I think we got some really good learnings from that. We had some really good learnings and thoughts and ideas. We had Gabriel and Cody talked about building consumer confidence. It was a great comments. And then we had Kathleen and Alan talking about being proactive, adaptable, and looking for new opportunities. Just feedback like that helps us as a company, and it helps our board derive direction, strategic direction. I'll give you a great idea and a great thought of how that happened. We talk about our governance committee. Ed Malish chairs our governance committee, and they've been listening. At this very meeting in the last couple of years, you told us that we have farming entities that are members of our cooperative that can have multiple people in that farming entity, but only one of them can be part of our governance. Well, the committee listened and they looked at that. And we can verify that now multiple people in our farming entities can be part of our governance, as long as they meet the qualifications that we have for our governance. That committee's also been hard at work on other things. One of the things they're looking at is an amendment to the bylaws or the foundational documents, our bylaws. So we have said this is a simple amendment that they're looking at. It'll clean up some obsolete language that no longer applies to the way that we do business here today. You'll hear more about that later in the year as the year progresses, and then at the owners' forums this summer, we're going to get into more detail with you on that, and then we'll look to next fall at the 2020 annual meeting for a vote on that. Other committees are also hard at work. Al Holm and the Risk Committee, They're continuing that work we've talked about here in the past about this enterprise risks across the company. They've identified our top 5 risks, and they're looking at how are we monitoring that and how are we protecting those risks, how are we managing those risks. Made some great progress on that. They're also looking at the global enterprise risk policy. That's our policy across the company, making sure that that is embedded into the way that we operate as a company, and then it's a core competency every day for us at CHS. Similarly, Perry Meyer and the Audit Committee, they're working on our financial control structure. So the committee, and along with an independent advisor, they're working to make sure that that control structure that we have and that we've made a lot of progress enhancing over the last couple of years is appropriate and it's adequate for the size and the complexity of the company that we operate. Some great work there. Now I want to particularly highlight Government Relations Committee. Randy Connect chaired the Government Relations Committee, and they are tasked with the difficult task of trying to educate our legislators. Now that's difficult in itself. Lay on top of that we have these trade wars going on. And we keep hearing the same things you're hearing, that we're moving forward and then we're not. We almost have a deal and then we don't. Last night here, Andrew said it was fairly pessimistic about the future on the trade deals. And then this morning we have news coming out that there's some optimism. A lot of going back and forth. So we are not being silent on this. We've been forceful. In Washington, back here at home, individually with the Secretary of Agriculture, talking to them about this trade issue, saying this is damaging to rural America. Our farmers are facing a lot of challenges. This one is laying more work and more heavy weight on financial weight on our farmers. We need to see a resolution. We need to see a path forward. We've been pushing hard, Randy. Now, Randy, it's really hard to tell if you're making progress, but we're not giving up. We're going to be vigilant. We're going to speak out. We're going to continue to move forward. Dennis Carlson chairs our Capital Committee, and they continue their work on balancing the needs of our long-term financial stability with appropriate returns, appropriate patronage back to you as our owners. That's a tough balance, Dennis. So when our board looks at that, we look at 3 pillars. So the first one is we're going to have a strong balance sheet. We do have a strong balance sheet, and we will continue to have a strong balance sheet. Then we look at what is in the best interest of CHS. Now, when we talk about, the board talks about CHS, we talk about the company and its owners together. And then lastly, we look at, we are going to make sure that our company has the ability to pursue long-term growth. When there is an opportunity that's a long-term opportunity on your behalf, we want to be able to execute on it. So this year, we are going to pay out $180 million in cash, $90 million of that in patronage, $90 million of that in net redemptions. Like last year, 10% of our patronage earnings will go into the unallocated reserve. And also like last year, all of that earned patronage that is not paid in cash will be paid in non-qualified equity certificates. Also new this year is the individuals, this is individual owners, that have reached age 70 can now every 5 years ask for a redemption of their equity. So great work by Ben Dennis and the Capital Committee. The foundation continues to invest in the future of agriculture. David Kaiser chairs the Board of Trustees of the foundation, and they continue to invest $4.2 million just this year in education, scholarship, leadership programs to students and teachers. One I particularly want to highlight is this: minorities in agriculture, natural resources, and related science. We're the premier sponsor of this, and we're giving scholarships to those high-performing students and their teachers, whether they're their STEM teachers or their ag teachers, to go to the conference, learn about agriculture, and learn about leadership. Just another way that we are investing in the future of agriculture. So we all want to be part of a high-performing team, teams that challenge themselves, have robust discussion, and then they can rally around a decision, all from a shared purpose and a shared value. Well, that's your CHS Board of Directors here. Well, I'm extremely proud to recognize them. If you would, the Board of Directors, if you could please stand. So thank you for all that you do to help guide CHS into the future, because that is an important role for our board. Strategic direction, leading us forward in a strategic direction. We had an opportunity as a board to sit down with the management team, and we learned about the Lewis and Clark expedition. Thomas Jefferson in 1804 charged the Lewis and Clark to explore the West and to look into the Louisiana Purchase. It was a 2-year, 8,000-mile journey. And it was all into the unknown, going into the future. One of the ways they managed that risk and try to understand that risk was they sent out scouts to look into the future or look into that unknown and then bring that information back so they could make good decisions. Well, CHS is sending out scouts also. We're doing the same thing. We're trying to learn about you and your business. We're looking at the global markets, trying to get some information from that. Looking at market analytics. We're bringing all of that back, and then we're looking at disruptors. Now, when I talk about disruptors, I'm thinking things like blockchain, electric cars, autonomous vehicles, all of those technology things that are going to change the way we operate and that we may have to adapt for. We're looking at those and trying to find where are those opportunities where we can work together and we can win. Now, we're not talking right-hand turns here. We're talking about 1,000 little things that we're probably going to do just a little bit better. We're going to work every day to make it smarter, better, more efficient, and productive decisions on your behalf. So why are we so focused? Why are we so focused on this? Well, it's because of you, our owners. We want to create a cooperative that's here for the next 90 years, that you will be proud of today, but your children and your grandchildren will also be proud of. That's why we're focused. But that's going to take a commitment from all of us to make that happen. Farmers started co-ops in challenging times, and they had the foresight to think a little differently. They were just leaders like us. So we got to think about what can we do today that will change tomorrow. What are those small things that we can do together that will make a difference tomorrow? So I want to do a little exercise with you, if you please bear with me. So those that have been with the cooperative system less than 10 years, if you could please stand, and if you could please stay standing. You're young probably because you can stay standing. If there are none, please stand up. Just a hint, you'll all be standing by the end of this, so you might as well stand up. So you young producers, you will inherit the co-op. The co-op we're building today is for you, the co-op of tomorrow. And we thank you for your passion and your enthusiasm. So now, could you, those 10 to 30 years, if you could please join them and stand up and join them. So this is the heart of our co-op. This is the co-op that is who's using the cooperative today, who's leading the cooperatives today. Now, we got board members that aren't standing. We got to have some board members standing too. Thank you. But we thank you for your commitment to the cooperative system and support. Now, I'll join those. That was 30 years or more, if you could please join. So these are the people that built the system. They built this cooperative that we have today. They figured out how to get people with diverse ideas to work together with purpose to create something for tomorrow. So now, if you're not standing, if you would please stand, because we're all here because we're part of the co-op system. So I'd like you to look around and look at the power in this room. The strength and diversity of thought, the ideas, the commitment, the passion that we have in this room. It's going to take all of us standing shoulder to shoulder to be successful. You are here today because you are leaders in the co-op system, and our owners are asking us to create the future CHS, the future of the cooperative system. So that's going to take us getting to know those people around you, creating those connections, creating those ideas of how we must work a little differently. We must act boldly. Trying times are when co-ops shine. So I ask you to join my fellow board of directors on our path of creating the future for CHS. Because together, with purpose, we can create connections that empower agriculture. Thank you.